Choice of a Young Voice.
Welcome to The Choice of a Young Voice. This is a series where we discuss the different choices that you and I, as young people, need to make in this generation. I am your host, Caroline Muche, and today we are talking about something important. We rarely really talk about these things, but they need to be discussed. Our reproductive systems, reproductive health. Do you know your reproductive systems? Do you understand the organs that are within your private areas? We are going to discuss that today, and how to avoid getting diseases, reproductive diseases, and how to keep our reproductive systems healthy. So that's what we're discussing today. To help us, we have a guest here with us. She's a nurse, very experienced and ready to inform us with all these scientific facts. Here we have Mrs. Rose Wangila. Thank you so much for coming. And we have an audience of young people eager to learn, ask questions. They're very lively. I really like you guys, by the way. Yeah. So thank you for coming and joining us today. So let's get into this topic. Maybe we can just start by, I don't know, defining terms. What is reproductive health?
Thank you for this show. Reproductive health. Basically, what rings in somebody's mind is reproduction. Reproduction is basically to bring the children on this earth. Yeah. So when we talk of reproductive system, a system carries many things in one. Yeah. So reproductive health, basically we are going to look at those systems and how, if time allows, how the systems work. And it is about male reproductive system and female reproductive system. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Now, okay, maybe you could help us define, or rather, the different diseases, or list down some of the different diseases that we can get in our reproductive systems.
Yes. So about different diseases, basically we have sexually transmitted diseases, and we also have non-sexually transmitted diseases. So in sexually transmitted diseases, I'm sure you know many of them. We have gonorrhea, we have syphilis, we have chancroid, we have cancer of the cervix, among many. And we also have non-sexually transmitted diseases, and mostly these ones, it is about the ladies, mostly are the ones who have these ones, like the Candidiasis. And this is one that surely disturbs so many. And in a woman's lifetime, this is something that at some point you suffer from. That is Candidiasis. And at times you may think it's a big problem. And most of this is the problems that we cause on ourselves. Yeah? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Does any of you have these diseases? Okay, no, I'm kidding. Don't answer. I was going to ask for testimony of how, but it's fine. You're probably there, but not willing to share. Okay, but I hope you're not there. But if you are, today you're going to learn how you can be healthy and vibrant and keep our areas healthy. Yes? So, how can we, okay, you've talked about the sexually transmitted diseases. Why do they all have different names? I mean, how do you separate them? They're all from sex, one act. Yeah, how do we acquire these diseases?
Yeah, they have different names because of the way they present. There are those who have, there are some who have discharges, and these discharges, it depends with the smell, the color, and that is how we define. And at times, it is not just by looking, we also need maybe to do lab works, is when now we can tell that exactly this is what this disease is. And that is why they have different names.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And the ones that are not, okay, we'll get into, you know, the sexually transmitted ones. How about those diseases that are not from sex? What causes these diseases? Yeah.
Well, we have some cancers that affect the reproductive system, and especially the male reproductive system. We have the penile shaft cancer, we have the prostate cancer. And basically what I want to say is that cancer is a disease that takes so long in the body for you to realize that you have it. And if you don't test yourself frequently, you may not actually know that you're suffering with it, from it. It may eat you up to 15 years. And earlier on, people used to think that these cancers are for old age. Actually, it begins at very early stage, when somebody is still young, but it goes for many years. It depends with the immunity of an individual. Yeah, it can go up to 20 years for it now to show the signs. And once the signs show that it's already eaten you up, and maybe the stage has moved to a higher stage that may not be treated, either may not be completely treated, or if it has to be treated, it is not the basic now drugs. It has to go maybe through surgery or at least a higher level of treatment. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Before we now get into the how to avoid and take care of ourselves, maybe does anyone here have a comment or question based on what we've discussed so far? No? Yes? Okay, let's start with the lady on the second row.
Okay, my question is, what are some of the causes of candidiasis? Could it be the clothes we wear or the food we eat? What causes it?
Thank you so much. Causes of candidiasis. I know she's asking because many ladies, many of us at some point have suffered from it, and at times we know, at times we don't know. So the causes, there are those that are triggered by the menses that we receive every month. So sometimes, just slightly before the menses, you can see that discharge, and usually it's curdle-like. And it has not really, the smell is not offensive, but it is there. Not really offensive, but it is there, that smell. And sometimes it clears on its own after the periods. But there's this one that we cause ourselves because of the way we even clean ourselves down there. When we come to that area, we have that specific, we call it pH, that is supposed to be down there. I know most of us, in attempt to want to be clean and not have maybe that urine smell at any time of the day, we want to even scrub the area using soap. And some of these soaps are very harsh. And to some extent, there are those who go to extremes. They even look for some cloth and put it inside and attempt to clean. Wow, you're doing this? Imagine that is what happens. So many people, apart from that which is triggered by the periods or the menses, we cause it on ourselves. Yeah, just the way we clean down there in attempt to want the area to be very clean. I know there are some bacteria that are naturally supposed to be there. So you tamper with that bacteria, even the dust that passes around that area could just give you that candidiasis, could just become infectious. The clothes that we also wear, the underpants, there are some materials that are not good. And it's also good for you to know yourself, know your skin, so that you don't react to some of this, whatever's clothes. And what we advocate mostly is the cotton, because cotton is actually able to even absorb if there's any discharge that, you know, comes around there. And reaction to cotton also is usually very minimal. Yeah.
And now, like for ladies, sorry, man, this is going to get a little bit awkward for you. But for ladies, now, do types of pads also affect, like the type of pads you wear? You know, that some people say they wear this pad and then they get an itch or rashes. As again, men, just bear with us.
Yeah. Just before I maybe answer that question, even this to men, there's a time we'd go to a supermarket and there's this fragrance. Yeah? Do you remember? For always. It used to have, you know, some kind of scent. And I think somebody complained so that these days,
The scent,
you know,
is,
the
not
scent
there.
is not there anymore. You would put on that pad and everybody knows that you're you're having your menses.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is that, yes, pads, different qualities, different pads, you could just be reacting to them. There are people who put on those pads and at the end of the day they are itching so much. And you know, these things, they are all made with some chemicals and also with the materials that they use. And worse still, there are those who use the tampon, sorry. You know, the tampon, and that is just for young girls and, you know, but they are not, we don't surely advocate for them because of where they are placed. And that is, you know, like once you place inside there, there's a string that usually hangs, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is just a direct route for infection inside there. And it is worse because it can go very easily to the uterus through the cervix because you place that tampon just next to the cervix. You know, the cervix is the mouth of the uterus. So once you get an infection there, it just goes straight to the uterus.
Wow.
Which could just be dangerous.
Have there been cases of that? Like,
Yeah, there are many cases of that, though it is treatable. Yeah, once you discover that you have a problem, just come to us and don't go and get over-the-counter drugs. Go be tested so that if there's a problem, you're treated once and for all.
Okay, the other hands. Maybe I can start with a man men have been awkward.
Thank you. Let me bring the discussion back to men a bit.
Yeah.
We've been applying so much. But back to the dress code again for men. As men are growing up, or even the grown-up ones, is there any effect on the type of the underpants that a man should wear when it comes to the reproductive health itself?
Yeah.
Because there have been some, I don't know whether they're allegations or findings, I don't know whether they're facts or what, that if a man wears a very tight box-out underpant, it affects his reproductive health as well, or parts as well, or when some of them advocate that men should even walk without them sometimes. They should just be free. How true is this?
Thank you for that question. Actually, that is a very good question. And don't laugh. If everybody wouldn't take care of that area, we wouldn't be having this generation here.
Yeah.
So it is very important. So actually, in fact, right from a newborn, we always advise mothers that they should not let the boy child be in those diapers for a long period, and even napkins. So the boys should actually be allowed to be free. And especially maybe when you're going somewhere, just put it and after a short time remove. Because the testicles, for them to work well, and I know even that area doesn't have so much hair. Does it have hair? Yeah? Hair also brings about that whatever the heat or something like that.
Wait, did a girl just answer that question? I'm kidding.
So what happens is that they are not supposed to be in diapers for long. if they stay in those diapers for long, the testicles will not develop well, and in future if they don't develop, there's that production of sperm, which is done there in storage, or production of sperm and the storage of that sperm. So if this place is not taken care of well, you will not have a generation out of you. So make sure, even as at now, as you grow up, try to put on loosely applied clothes. Let them not be tight, yeah? Don't press so much on those goods. They are very important, yeah?
They're very important.
Yeah, they are very important. And you know, also, when it comes to size, sometimes I wouldn't like to talk about this to young men like you, but I have to tell you because you're my children.
Yes.
You know, areas like the Somalis and the Maasais, do you know, usually they don't put on those whatever, not unless the ones who are civilized. So when you look at their gadgets or their penis, those organs are usually larger and bigger than the ones that are usually so much breast.
Wow.
And if you ask a woman in future, I think the size also surely matters. So please, don't mess up somebody's daughter in future because of your dressing today.
This is very interesting. I hope you're learning. I really hope you're taking notes. Please, as you watch this episode, have a notebook, and there's more to come. We're going to pause for a short commercial break.
Well, from the fact that people don't know about their reproductive health, first they need to get information. Why is it even necessary to learn about it, to take care of their health? You see, most people suffer because they don't know. It's true, they don't know. Somebody realizes later they have cervical cancer or breast cancer or whatever. Some infections that are a bit petty but very serious. And because they don't know, they first need to get the sources of where to know. They can read from books. The church also needs to take up the responsibility to just teach. You know, as Africans, sometimes it's a bit hard to talk about reproductive health, but you can just speak about it. The church should take up the mantle. Parents should take up the mantle. Schools should do the same. And once they get to learn about them, they should take up also as individuals the mantle of taking care of themselves, because some issues are just about hygiene. Something you can easily work on yourself.
One major tip, especially for the young people who have at one point been sexually active, I would encourage them to regularly go for pap smears at least once every year. Pap smear is basically a test done to check for the human papilloma virus that ultimately leads to cervical cancer affecting women at a later age. So for the young people, especially girls, I would encourage, if one has been sexually active before the age of 18, to regularly go for pap smears and checkups, because you never know. Basically, the HPV virus, it manifests itself at a later point in age when it has fully developed. But it's mostly, it's a relatively, how do you call it, a mild, I would refer to it as a mild STI, but could at one point lead to cervical cancer. Actually, one good way to prevent an STI is just abstinence. The Bible principle, abstain from sex till marriage. So that's a huge ticket and a way to know that you're totally and completely free from an STI. Ideally, if one was to take a P2, it should be done at least once or twice a year, because you see, most of these P2s, ultimately, they would initiate development of breast cancer and cervical cancer. Aside from that, I think it's a shortcut the young people are trying to run away from the ultimate consequences of sex, that is pregnancy. But a P2 will not protect you from these sexually transmitted diseases and infections, and some of these diseases are actually not treatable. For example, herpes. Once you contract herpes, it's actually 10 times worse than HIV and AIDS, because you'll have to live with it for a lifetime. It's a disease that's actually more visible. So one thing I would encourage young people in terms of protecting themselves from STIs, STDs, and these reproductive diseases that are actually transmitted as a result of sex, the best way to do that is abstinence.
Welcome back. You are watching The Choice of a Young Voice, and we are talking about reproductive health. And so far we've been discussing on different ways we need to take care of ourselves. The men were just advised on how to dress, you know, inner pants and all that. And we're going to now continue on into this discussion. We just watched videos of some of people advising us on other ways of taking care of ourselves. Maybe what would you have to say?
Yeah, basically what she's talked about is about the cervical cancer. And cervical cancer actually is a sexually transmitted disease, like you had. And it is the causative, whatever agent is human papilloma virus, HPV, like you had. And this is a virus that affects only human, yeah? So, and it is sexually transmitted. So sexually transmitted means it comes from a man to a woman. And a woman can also give it to another man, and the cycle continues like that. So basically what HPV, most of us, in fact, most people have this virus, but it takes advantage when your immunity goes down. And for a woman, there are many things that would make your immunity do what? Go down. Even the periods that we receive every month, that in itself just makes your immunity go down. Any stress, especially around the teenage whatever, that you undergo, it makes your immunity do what? Goes down, yeah? There are those who smoke. Your immunity goes down. And the risk factors also is for those who have several sexual partners. We've been told to abstain. I don't know what you're looking for, because you're not ready to have a child, like we said. And I don't know why most of us fear getting pregnant, and we don't fear these other things. Because you'll go in with a condom because you want to prevent what? A pregnancy. But do you know even that condom can burst? Huh? Anything can happen. Yeah? So you'll go in for these family planning methods. They'll only prevent pregnancy. And which one is better? Yeah? You will die with other diseases.
So
like
when you wear a
said,
condom, you can still get STIs?
Yes. Okay, well, a condom will prevent you to some extent, but there are instances whereby even that condom bursts. It will burst or even slip off. There are many women who've come to the hospital getting worried. There are many young ladies who come getting worried because the condom slipped off. And by the way, when it slips off, it remains inside. So you have to come for us to remove right there. So it is not 100% sure that nothing will happen. So the best for you to do as a teenager, as a young person who is not yet married, you do what?
Abstain.
You abstain, yeah? So about the HPV, the human papilloma virus, it causes the cancer of the cervix. And once you contract the cancer of the cervix, you know cancer can do what? Can metastasize. Metastasis means it goes to other areas of the body. So it begins with the cervix, then finally it goes to the uterus and affects adjacent organs too. Like I said, all cancers, it takes so long for you to know. And once actually you see a sign, it means it has gone. When you start seeing that discharge, the funny discharge, smelly or bloody, it means it has done what? Actually, it has gone, yeah? It's no longer just stationed in one area. It could just mean that the cervix is eaten up, and even the uterus is affected and other organs. So like she said, there are tests that you go to do. She's talked about the what? I heard you, yes, pap smear.
Pap smear.
Yeah, but there's another cheaper and faster test, VIA Vili, which is offered in most facilities near you. So if you're sexually active, kindly visit those facilities for you to be tested. Yeah, that one is even more sensitive, the one that I'm talking, and it is the one that is most available. For a pap smear, you'll wait for about 2 weeks for a result to come. But for this one, the one that is done all over, you're given your results there and then. Its sensitivity is even much higher than for the pap smear. Sensitivity of VIA Vili is around 89%, but for pap smear is around 40%. So meaning, when a VIA Vili is done, chances are that you'll get a more right result, but it is okay. So for young people like this age, VIA Vili is just okay. But basically abstain.
Abstain.
Yeah, because we said cancer takes so long. So if you contracted at, let's say, 20 years, then it will take you like 25 years. In fact, it manifests mostly around 40 years and up to around 59 years is when now you get somebody has cervical cancer. But in real sense, it began so early.
Yeah.
It may have begun around 20 years ago.
Thank you so much. How many hands do we have? How many hands do we have? Oh, Wycliffe, you have a question? Oh, wait, I won't let you ask first. Christine.
I want you to advise us as ladies. There's this thing that goes around that we are advised to sleep when we don't put our underpants. And there's these ladies, maybe if you are in the house the whole day, you decide to stay like that. Is it healthy? Is it good? How do you react to that?
Oh, when you go to bed, okay, well, that area also needs some aeration. It needs some relaxation and some, free air passing through there. So when you go to bed, we advise that you just sleep without. Yeah, and even when you're in the house and you're safe, yeah, don't go to your boyfriend without a panty. Yeah, so you can just relax. The area also needs some aeration, just for that good circulation of air around it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Up to you, I promise.
We have been sidelined men, but now I just wanted to ask, when you were starting, you talked about something like penile, cancer. Basically, we don't know it now. Can you just maybe clarify on that? And then men are nowadays encouraged to go for circumcision, of which, according to cultures, relatively some of us doesn't want to go. So can you also clarify to us the benefits and how men can be encouraged to do the same?
So, well, thank you. About the circumcision, let me maybe begin from there. It is very important because it is very uncomfortable and actually that skin that usually covers the glandus, that area, it also becomes dirty because, for a human being, there's that cell, whatever, as in it clears off the old cell and there's that growth of the new cell every now and then. And you also do your short calls and stuff. So you can imagine all that, whatever remains usually just clogs inside there. So that is why the men who have that skin, they usually have a lot of problem with the infection around that area. And by the way, the HPV, men are usually the carriers. Yeah? Men are the carriers of the HPV virus. So you can imagine, and even during sexual intercourse, which is not for you people now, usually they usually have a lot of, problems during sexual intercourse. It is usually painful. Sometimes that skin attempts to sort of retract, and it's usually very painful because sort of it retracts and like peeling off, yeah? So it is uncomfortable. It is, I don't know, cumbersome. It will not be uncomfortable for the woman only. For the man only, even the woman, yeah? So to avoid that, those infections around that area, just remove the skin, because it doesn't have any much work after those whatever early years. Yeah. You don't need it. Yeah, you don't need it. So when it comes to penile cancer, that is just cancer like any other cancer. Yeah, that could just develop. And for men, mostly, what we get worried about is you have that gland, the prostate. That is what usually disturbs men so much. And most cancers usually begin from there. So your penile cancer could just have resulted from the problem with prostate. So there's that prostate cancer, and cancer, just like any other cancer, moves. Yeah. So that is just one of the cancers that a man could also get. So when it comes to that gland, there's what we call benign prostate hypertrophy. Sometimes it just grows large. And usually it comes in when around the ages of 45 also and above. So you're also advised to actually be going for checkups to check on the gland. There's usually some examinations that are usually done just to check that gland is okay. Yeah. And when it has hypertrophies, to hypertrophy actually is to enlarge. So when it enlarges, it doesn't mean that it has cancer. Sometimes it could just be infection, and those infections could be kidney infections or just infections around the gland, which are treatable. Yeah. So you also have a reason to visit a doctor or a medical officer to be checked. Yeah.
Okay, I have no idea. Yes, the lady behind, your hand has been up from day one. Okay.
Thank you. My question is about for us ladies, the bras that we put on. Some have pads and the metal rods. Is that okay? And then the second one is when shaving the pubic hair. Sometimes you shave and then you have irritation and itching. So what are we supposed to do, or what are we supposed to use that don't cause the irritation?
Yeah. Thank you so much for that question. About the bras, actually, I don't know whether there's any research that has been done that says there's a problem with such. But what I would say is that the bras, especially the ones that usually have the metal, whatever, that pressure only can cause the cut off of blood supply to other areas of that organ, the breast. I think that is the problem that maybe probably could be there. And the other question about shaving. This hair doesn't just grow the way you think. There's a formula that this hair grows. And even when you're cutting your pubic hair, even your hair on the head, there's a style. You'll realize that after it's been cutted, when it's growing, you'll realize that it grows in a pattern, yeah? So even your pubic hair grows also in a pattern. So when you're shaving, don't shave from down upwards. Because when you shave from down upwards, you cut up to not really the roots, but up to the edge, so that when it starts growing, now the sharp edges will start irritating the skin. So what you do, cut from upwards, downwards. Go and taste it today, and you see the results. Yeah. So when you cut it from upwards downwards, you will leave some, let me say, some stock around there, yeah? So that when it grows, there'll be no irritation to the skin. So don't go for creams and start applying that area. Oh, you could shave, then you go and put it there. You'll cause more problems to that area than good.
Okay, okay. This gentleman.
Yeah, I have a question concerning prostate cancer. We are told that, from research, we are told that when you store urine, when you take long periods without going to relieve yourself of urine, it might be a cause. And then you're also told that taking longer time without engaging in sexual activities, it might also be a cause to this. So as young people, just like you have said, cancer takes long to manifest itself. So can we engage in sex at a younger age so that when you get old, it will have helped us?
So that second one is actually a myth. The one that there are people who practice celibacy and they're serious with it.
Yeah.
Even Paul in the Bible, what did he say? If you cannot do what? You cannot be like him, you better do what?
Get married.
So what does that mean? That you can live and live upright without engaging yourself into sexual what? So that one is a myth. So the first one was about, what did you say? Yeah, urine. Yes.
We don't have much time.
Yes. So about urine, what I want to say is that urine retention could be a sign of an enlargement of the prostate gland. But it is not that when you store urine so much or you stay with that urine for long, it will cause cancer. Basically, if you stay with that urine, if you don't release, what it can do is it will harm your kidneys more than actually bringing you cancer, yeah? Yes. So just release that urine when it comes and take enough water so that you release, because there's so much that happens in the kidneys. So if you don't release that urine, there's usually backflow of the urine. And you know, in urine, there's a lot of wastes. That is why it has to come out. It has a lot of waste. And if it goes back, then it goes and causes problems, like you heard of kidney stones, yeah? So that could just be one of the causes. But having urine retention, because people who, one of the signs that shows that that gland is actually is swollen or it's enlarged, the urine will not come out as usual. It retains. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We will go for a short break. So far, the discussion has been very interesting. Clearly, we as young people need to learn so much more about our reproductive health. So when we come back, we'll wind it all up. But let's continue doing our research work, asking questions, visiting doctors, so that we can know so much more about how we can stay healthy in our reproductive system. So we'll be back. Welcome back. You are watching The Choice of a Young Voice, and we are talking about reproductive health. So maybe as we wind up, there's some questions that have been asked during the break that you could probably, you know, address in your closing remarks.
Thank you so much for those questions. Let me begin with the condom one. I would say, you know, just like any other company, you will want to do what? To advertise your product so that it can be bought. So there are so many condoms that have come in the market, and you know, there are those that you've been seeing them on adverts. They are so appetizing, some strawberry or something like that. So most of them I think have some okay, they have some chemicals on them Though I wouldn't say that there's any research that has confirmed that it has any effect on cancer, but what I want to say is that just look for the size that fits well, then use the size that fits well, so that you're not...
But not at this age.
No, I'm not advising you. I'm telling whoever you're going to give the message, because you people are going with the message out there.
Yes.
And these things, let us live knowing that we're in this world. There are those who are using them, yeah?
Yes, it's true.
So let somebody look for something that is well-fitting, so that it's not very tight, that it will prevent even the circulation of air around the penile shaft, yeah? There's a very important question about the hormones. Let me finish with that. Then the issue of dressing and clothes and bras, I think I answered it somewhere there. But the issue of padded ones, it's about comfort. If you want a padded one, it is okay. But the issue of the water and all that stuff in it, I think that is just very wrong. Because if somebody has to put a chemical in that so that it causes a problem to somebody, then that is not good. So don't go for them. And if there's anything like that, I saw them on social media some time back. So if there's anything like that, just be vigilant. That one shows that even when you go to buy, just try to do what? To check and make sure that it doesn't have those things in it for you. I mean, for you to use them. About bathing is very important. Just bathe for free, my dear. Bathe every day. For a man, well, we don't say bathe twice in a day, but it is important to have a bath at least once in a day, yeah? Don't go for 2-3 days. Because I talked of, even this skin, it regenerates on daily basis. So you need to flush out the dirt and get fresh. And this one I'm giving you for free. When you go to bed, when you bathed, you'll even see, you'll see sweat. You will sweat, yeah? Which is a very good sign. But when you don't bathe, you'll never see that sweat on you. And you'll see some, there'll be some funny smell. Meaning that the pores on the skin are clogged with a lot of dirt. So you're just keeping so many toxins in your body for nothing. So just have a bath. For women, very important at least.
Your time is running out.
For women, at least bathe twice. And if you can't do the twice, do a passport in the evening before you go to bed, yeah? The issue of hormones. Our bodies have lots of hormones, and that is what drives this body as a machine. So when your hormones are balanced, you're what you are. Yeah. If your hormones are not balanced, it means there's a problem. And you've realized there are girls who bleed so much. And at times, by the way, when they come to the hospital, we have to balance those hormones. And there are some things that we usually use that sometimes are not acceptable. But that is what, the pills, they're the ones we use. And they're for family planning. But they are drugs, just to balance the hormones so that you don't overbleed. To do what? To maybe becoming anemic, or maybe causing problems to you.
And I'll ask my director for 30 more seconds, so that you could just generally wind up, so that you could now just generally give us a word of encouragement to close this up.
Thank you so much, So when hormones are not balanced, even a woman cannot conceive, yeah? There are hormones that are responsible for conception of a pregnancy. So when they are not balanced, no conception. So there's hope when it comes to reproductive health. Now you know. Take the message home. Yeah? Take care of that area. And like I said, for men, so that we can have a next generation. We have talked of cancers that are sexually transmitted. Just abstain at this age. Your time will come. And when that time comes, things will sort themselves out. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Clearly, this is one of those topics that need a part 2. There are many questions that haven't been answered, but at the end of the day, at least now we've realized that we need to know more. You know, we need to let's go the extra mile, learn, ask questions, meet doctors, and let's take the initiative to be healthy people. We have come to the end of the show. Thank you for watching. I hope you have learnt a lot today. It was a crash program, but go do your research work. Talk to your doctors, nurses around you, and let's all learn and be vigilant in making sure we are healthy everywhere, including our reproductive systems. So thank you for watching and see you next week.